on the phone.
Oh,
What's
who was
his
it?
name?
Michael Gott.
Michael Gott.
That was
Oh,
Michael
yeah.
Gott?
That's Michael
Yeah.
Gott.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I
Did
didn't
he
know.
used to be here?
Yeah.
No, he used to
did.
be at Lakeside.
Lakeside. What I
Yeah.
meant was Reno.
Yes.
Is he still in Texas?
Yes.
Yes, he's at
A
Unity at the Pyramid in Houston.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And there's a little notice on that table over there about he's gonna be in Montana,
September,
in September, yeah.
along with Karen Drucker.
Yes, yes. So here we are.
Woohoo!
Are y'all fired up and ready to go? So today is Palm Sunday, and so I wanted to share with you, I've said this before, I've told you this story before, but I want to do it again because my husband was raised a Catholic, and he would go to church on Saturday evening to get it out of the way. And so on the eve before Palm Sunday, he went to the Catholic Church. Now, he never took communion because he had been married before. And so he just was not allowed, putting it in quotes, by the Catholic Church. Now, he had a disease called myasthenia gravis that made his eyes weird. And so sometimes he wore a patch over his left eye. And he got to church and he noticed that some people had palm leaves. And he thought, I probably should have a palm leaf. I don't know what they're going to do with them, but I should probably have one. So he wandered out into the foyer where the confessional was. And there were a bunch of people lined up waiting for confession. And it was getting late. And the priest stepped out of the confessional and he said, you know what? He said, we're short on time. He said, just circle up, and we're just going to have a mass absolution. And so, my husband was absolved on Palm Sunday, and he started taking communion. So it's really a sweet time for me. He, of course, he always could have absolved himself. He didn't need a priest to make that absolution for him. And so, that's a life lesson, I think, for all of us. We don't need any authority to absolve us from anything. We can all do it ourselves. And so, this is a time, I think, often about forgiveness and making restitution and being just in alignment with Spirit. And it's a do-it-yourself kind of project. We don't need another authority to do that for us. I was thinking about a lot like sometimes we break our leg or we put a bandage on our finger, and often the healing, the wrapping, is a lot nastier than the original pain or the original hurt. The Band-Aids get all nasty. The cast gets all nasty. And so when we take it off, the wound has healed, but it's weakened by the very thing that we have tried to put over it, the very healing that we've put upon it. And so that's like absolution. Often we forget to let go of the old hurts and the old pains, maybe the I'm using this word advisedly, the sins of the past, the mistakes that we've made, the errors that we have created for ourselves. We can always go down in the basement of our being and find our wounded selves, our mistakes, and we can bring the healing into the light. We don't need anyone's permission to remove the bandages and let the healing occur. We need no one's permission but our own. And Ernest Holmes said this in his book, Love and Law. Ernest Holmes, the founder of our philosophy. Every living soul is a point to forgive. Where am I? Wait a minute. Every living soul is a point of personified God consciousness, immutable allness and power. You are not approaching the point of God consciousness. You are not approaching the point of God consciousness, for you are that now. You are God consciousness. Fearlessly announce that you are the truth and nothing but the truth, knowing that within you now dwells the eternal God, for all of the presence, all of the power, and all of the God there is with you, in you, now. He also said in his article, Experiment with Faith, when God puts us here, he made each one of us a little different. And if each one of us is just a little different, as though each one were a new mold, then the greatest adventure in life would be an experiment with ourselves to see we could do with this essence that we are anything that we choose. This thing inside of us we can use and experiment and create a vastly exciting life. He continues. For in reality, you will never discover anything outside of yourself greater than you are yourself. You're it. You are the authority in your own life. You are the one to absolve yourself if you choose, to heal yourself if you choose, to explore and experiment with the very essence of who you are. He concludes, the greatest adventure in life would be an experiment with ourselves to see what we could do with the thing that is within. So we're talking about the great experiment of ourselves, the great discovery of ourselves, and the power to let go of all of the past, to let the wounds that we were all exposed to, each one of us has our wounds, to let those wounds be open to the air and to the sunlight, and to allow them to heal. We do not need permission from anyone or anything. We need to be able to explore the truth of our being to the very essence of who we are with joy and enthusiasm from his book, As Far as the Heart Can See. I need a drink of water here, I'm sorry. He says this in Invitation to Grow. Mark Maple. It takes years for seeds to grow into trees, and the seasons shape and scar each tree into place. You could say that the journey of being a spirit on earth is the human equivalent, and the years of experience shape and scar each of us into place. You could say that this is the long road to freedom, inner freedom. It is our invitation to grow. When I was starting out, I wanted so badly to become a poet. I held it in view like some hill I needed to climb to see from. But getting to the top, something was missing. And so I had to climb the next hill. Finally, I realized I didn't need to climb to become a poet. I was a poet. The same thing happened with love. I wanted so badly to love and be loved, but climbing through the relationship like hills, I realized again that I was loving and loved all along. Then I wanted to become wise, but after much travel and study, was during my bedridden days with cancer. Remember that he recovered from cancer, and that shaped his life so deeply. Then I wanted to become wise, but after much travel and study, it was during my bedridden days with cancer that I realized that I already was wise. I just didn't know the language of my wisdom. Now I understand that all these incarnations came alive in us when we dare to live the days before us, when we dare to listen to the wind singing in our veins. We carry the love and wisdom like seeds, and the days sprout. The days sprout us. And it's the sprouting that's the poetry. It's the sprouting that's the long road to freedom. He continues. Another lesson is more recent. It comes from a conversation I had with a very wise woman who was a mentor to me. She was the Jungian analyst Helen Luke. I knew Helen during the last 2 years of her life, and during that, what turned out to be our last conversation, she said to me, "Yours is to live it, not to reveal it." This troubled me, for I had spent my life becoming a writer, thinking that my job has been just that, to reveal what was essential and hidden. In the same time Helen died, I've come to understand her last instructions as an invitation to shed any grand purpose, no matter how devoted we may be to what we are doing. She wasn't telling me to stop writing, but to stop striving to be important. She was inviting me to stop recording the poetry of life and to enter the poetry of life. You know, they often say, it's a cliche, I know, and I'll use it because cliches have power. This is not a dress rehearsal for our lives. This is it. We don't have to wait for someone to absolve us from our sins. We don't have to wait for someone to tell us what our role is. We don't have to wait for someone to make decisions for us. This is our life. It belongs to us. Each one of us is the priest to absolve us from sins. Sins meaning mistakes, missing the mark. Sins meaning making errors. We don't need anyone else to tell us how to live our lives. We simply need to step into our lives, to live them fully and richly, expressively, creatively. We are it. Through this adventure in self-discovery, learn to use the intelligence, substance of mind for an effect. Learn to control personal circumstances or create circumstances known and experience the wealth of health and wholeness. How to experience freedom and learn the gifts and talents you have to contribute to this life. Learn those things. Ever-increasing faith in the infinite spirit is trust in the law of life and the law of love. We are it. And ours is to step into life fully, richly, and completely. We do not need an outside authority to give us permission to be who we are. We already received that permission the moment we were conceived, because we were conceived uniquely and perfectly as the outpicturing of the divine source. We climbed the hill. There's no place for us to go but to fly. I love you all, just the way you are. Namaste.
Namaste.
Steve, you were joining me? So, as I turn within, I become consciously aware of that part of me that has never been wounded, that has never been judged, that has never been neglected or denied. I become aware of that pure core of my being that can never be defiled or defamed, can never be hurt. That is the creative spark of the divine essence that I am. Allow myself permission to be and express the highest and best that I am. I give myself permission to celebrate the divinity that is within me and the divinity that is within all things, all life. I give myself permission to notice all of the good, to stand for that which is loving and peaceful, I give myself permission to be and do the godness that I am, I also allow everyone that I come in contact with that same authority within themselves. I tend to my life. I tend to my love. And I get out of the way of everyone else who's tending to their own life and their own expression. I step away from the need to judge. I step away from the need to criticize. I step into my own power, my own essence, my own authority. And by doing that, I allow all that is God expressing to do that without my interference, without my judgment, without my criticism. I allow myself to be filled with peace, with love, with wisdom. And I allow the poetry of my soul to show forth as I admire and appreciate the poetry of all that I come in contact with. And I trust that the universe absolutely knows how to put the words together, how to write the poetry of my life, how to write the poetry of the world and the universe. All I need to do is stay in prayer and know that God knows. So I get myself out of the way. I allow the healing to happen. I allow the expansion to happen. I allow the love to happen. I trust it all. And so, with great gratitude, with great celebration, with great joy and great laughter, I say,